So what are we talking about today, bro?
Today we're talking about be careful who comes to help you when you're injured.
All right.
All right.
And why would anyone
rendering aid? Yeah. Why would anybody want to help you?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Even bystanders sometimes do the kind-hearted thing and try and help somebody out when they're injured. There's just some little known facts in the law about that situation that I thought I'd let people know.
All right. So what should they know?
First and foremost, not a lot of people probably know that if you're in a situation where you come across a car accident or, somebody's having a heart attack, God forbid, in a movie theater or something like that, if you don't do anything, if you do absolutely nothing except sit there, continue watching the movie or do something kind of sociopathic like that, you have absolutely zero liability.
Okay.
So there's nothing wrong with that in the law. As a matter of fact, that's probably the safest thing to do.
Stay away from it.
It's cold-hearted. It sounds that way. But, the best thing to do in a situation like that is to actually call, right, like your 911. Which would be the normal, probably the first impulse most people have anyways. Okay. Unless you're like, CPR trained. You're doing,
yeah.
Now, in that situation, somebody who certain individuals may have a duty to actually render aid, and it depends on the circumstances. And some laws exist that create duties, like for instance,
doctors and stuff like that.
Yeah, doctors, except doctors in a off duty, right, so to speak, right? Like just coming across somebody. No, they don't have a duty. Okay. They have their own ethical.
What's that? Right? Like the Hippocratic Oath?
The Hippocratic Oath, yeah. So, which is do no harm, and I guess it could theoretically for the within their profession create a duty, but there is no civil liability for that. But in circumstances such as like if you drop your kid off at a daycare center, right? There are daycare centers, for instance, they will have a duty where a child is fallen ill or injured. Same thing with school settings and those types of settings where there's a special relationship between the clients and those who are there to take care of them. Another place that comes to mind is like a nursing home. Okay. Situations like that where the staff would have a duty to respond. Same thing in a hospital. There's another special relationship. But out in the general public, right? If you do nothing,
you're okay.
But stand by, you're okay.
What if you're recording? How about that?
There's nothing wrong with recording. There's no laws broken in recording that type of instance, but you're probably going to get shunned if you're just recording.
The people in the comments be like, "What was the person recording doing?"
Yeah, who is that person? And let me stay away from them because that's pretty sick.
It's pretty gruesome.
Yes, yeah. So don't do that. But there are in the converse is that if you do undertake to help somebody, that is actually when you can be liable, right? And that's why I started off by saying be careful who comes to help you. Yeah. The movie Pure Luck, I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, Pure Luck, with Martin Short and Danny Glover, where Martin Short's just like this guy with the worst luck in the world.
No. And it sounds kind of like an older movie. Then.
It is an older movie, and most of the people listening are probably not going to.
Well, Donald Glover and Martin Short. It's like I know who they are, and I love them as actors. I just never seen.
I always think about that movie when I'm thinking about this liability issue because the Martin Short's just he's got just perennial bad luck, and anything that can go wrong.
That's his role in the movie.
Will go wrong. So Danny Glover's just like, don't come near me, and don't touch me. If he gets hurt and the guy tries to come and help him, he's like, don't, because you're going to make it worse. Yeah. Well, there are some people like that. Overzealous individuals who want or think they're doing right.
They can prove a point or something.
Yeah, and they end up making things worse. Now, if that happens, yeah, you can be liable. However, in Texas, we have a Good Samaritan law that protects people like that.
Okay.
Unless their conduct is really just, well, grossly negligent, which I'm covered before. It's like gross negligence, willful wanton conduct.
Mm-hmm. So Good Samaritan law, I thought at one point it meant that, like, if you're in an area and you see something like that happen, Good Samaritan law meant that you need to take action, but it actually protects people from when they do something.
Right.
Okay.
Good Samaritan law. See, that's interesting.
I thought it was backwards.
And people may have that perception about the law, which is probably
because I think Good Samaritan.
Maybe that's the better perception, and I'm just now everybody's going to be disabused of a better perception of the law. But no, actually, what it is for those that don't need to do anything because you have no duty to help a stranger. Those that don't do anything, but I mean, those that instead of those that don't do anything, those that undertake to help, they are protected by the Good Samaritan law, unless they're like receiving a fee or something for what they're doing, right? Like a paramedic. Except paramedics, firefighters, law enforcement, they have their own immunities.
I was going to say, I mean, because I guess because if you want anything bad to happen, you want to leave it in the hands of professionals, right?
Yes.
Because they're really the only ones that could really do what they can to save somebody.
Yeah, we try, and the law is designed to try and make it to where those people are the ones that are called, get involved, and hopefully do so reasonably, adequately, quickly. Yeah. So that somebody can get helped.
In cases like this, do you see a lot of people kind of like get pointed towards like yeah, you're like, you see this kind of stuff often?
We had a case about it, and I don't want to discuss the details too much. All I can say is that it was involving a bingo hall. Oh. And you know,
stuff.
It's Instagram. It's all good. We'll bleep it out.
Yeah.
It was involving mostly elderly people go to the bingo hall. So somebody fell ill there. There were some issues with the response from the staff there.
Okay.
So we had to, research what kind of duties were breached, if any. The other layer to that was that there were actually people in the bingo hall who were nurses.
Oh, man.
And were CPR trained and were calling out and saying, hey, but the staff was stopping them. Because the staff was probably listening to somebody like me, but not exactly understanding what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You don't have to stop people, right, from rendering aid. Like I said, those nurses would have been protected by the Good Samaritan law.
Yeah.
Right? They could have very well helped the lady. They were prevented from doing so. EMS responded. They called 911, did what there was, there's an issue as to whether there was a factor as to whether they did what they were supposed to do. But they did call 911.
Okay. 911
just took a while to respond. Unfortunately, the lady didn't make it.
Wow.
So the family was pretty devastated because there was a lot of, everybody has a cell phone, right? Everybody's filming this, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Now, they were filming it not because they were getting, they were trying to get likes or clicks from this lady falling ill. They were filming it because everybody was kind of turned off by the fact that there were nurses saying, hey, I know CPR, you need to lay her down, you need to do this, that, etc. She needs to be horizontal, right? They were following the ABCs, which is like the airway, right, breathing, and then cardiac. So they were trying to do that, but the security guards around her were just like, everybody stay away, everybody stay away.
Wow. And
she passed away in that process. So it was kind of sad. That's why everybody was filming.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, it's just people have different perceptions of the law. They may have an impulse, when and it's a good-hearted one and a noble one to try and help somebody, but they should understand if you don't know what you're doing.
It can be a double-edged sword.
If you don't know what you're doing, you could make things worse. And if you do make things worse, there is a possibility that you may not be protected by the Good Samaritan law. If it's deemed that your conduct was just really egregious, like you were really, after knowing you weren't helping, you kept doing it, right? That kind of stuff. You can expose yourself to liability.
I mean, this even happens when like they discover that whenever they were doing CPR, they broke like a rib or something, or like stuff like that happens, right?
Yeah,
like,
and that's normal, like that's within the scope of understood risks and something like that. So you wouldn't be you probably wouldn't be faulted for that if well, let me take that back. You could be faulted for that.
Okay.
Let me put my lawyer cap on.
You could be.
I don't want to say that couldn't result in something.
It could.
But it's not uncommon for that type of thing to happen when somebody's vigorously trying to render CPR. So, but yeah.
Interesting. Well, thank you for coming on, man.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Appreciate the talk.
Yes.